Hello and welcome back. It's season 2 of the Suffolk Pod Show. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. And don't forget, you can subscribe to the show for free through your favourite podcast directory or from our website.
Sam, I'm going to go for it. I'm just going to ask you, would you be a guest on our podcast? Yeah. I mean, I don't know what you think I'll bring to the show, but I didn't care. I love the sound of my own voice. Fit me in. Suffolk Pod Show. That sounds great. I like the sound of that.
Suffolk Pod Show is produced and managed by podtalk.co.uk. I'm Mark Mason.
And I'm Susanna Hornby. Episode 43, it's the brilliant Sam Pinkham from Virgin Radio, the early morning breakfast show. He's here to talk to us about life, radio, boats, cars, and the love he has for Suffolk. A very warm welcome to the amazing Sam Pinkham. Hello, Sam.
Oh, stop it! Stop it! You're right though. I am amazing. So you're factually correct. Hello, guys.
Well, it's lovely to have you with us at last. We have been hunting you down for a while, I believe.
Well, it's lovely to be on. And I'm a massive fan of Suffolk. We go to Suffolk every year. We go to Southwold. We go for a week in Southwold, and then we go to Latitude Festival. And there are 8 families. We go to Southwold, 8 families, the same 8 families every year, and we love it. It's a great county, isn't it?
It is a wonderful county, and I'm going to quiz you about it later. It's not going to be tough.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just, don't let that make you nervous for the rest of the conversation. All right. So well, everybody knows you. You are the early morning breakfast show presenter on Virgin Radio. Now, you haven't always done that. So what we'd like to do is just get a little bit of who was Sam before Virgin Radio.
I used to be in sales. And I sold houses, hoovers, cars, literally my granny, everything. And then one day I went into, I used to sell radio advertising for a radio station called Northampton 96 in Northampton, which was a local station. And I remember the first day when they showed me around, a guy called Mark Lee was the MD, and he showed me around. I was their new sales exec. And we walked into a studio, and I think I was about 24. And we walked in, there was a guy called Noel Gallagher, who was the presenter at the time, who was doing the afternoon show. And as soon as we walked in, he went, guys, one second, I've got to do a quick link. And we said, okay. So we stood there quietly in the corner of the studio, and he did a link, and he literally said, it's Northwest 96. My name's Neil Kefford. Lovely, dry, warm and sunny today. Highs at 15 degrees. Here's Madonna. And off he went. And then he went, sorry about that. And I just said, oh my God, is that what you do for a job? And he said, yeah. And I said, I want to do your job. And he said, well, you're not having my job. That was a moment when I just thought, I'd never even considered. Now, most radio presenters they want to do it all their life. I'd never even considered it until I was 24. But when I saw it, I just thought, that's the one. You just talk for 3 hours a day. You play music. You have no targets. There's no boss bossing you around, and you get paid to just talk and play music. So what an amazing, So that's where it all began. Then I went in. Then I was an eye in the sky. You know, the little airplane that buzzes around and does the traffic reports.
Yeah.
I did that for about a year, and this is delightful. I threw up every single flight for a year. Because what they do is they find a traffic jam and then they circle over it until you throw up, and so that wasn't a job for me. And then I got a job on. Where was my next job after that? I got sacked from that job. From that job for saying something naughty. Good
start in your career. Yeah.
I think I've been sacked from every job I've ever done. I really do think I have, because maybe sometimes I push it a little bit and just say naughty things, and then they go, right, time to move on. But I loved it. I'm 46 now. I've done it for 24 years, and I can't believe I'm still doing it. But I love it. I cannot express enough how much I love my job, and I'm so lucky to have it.
Well, apart from loving listening to you, how much do you love those early mornings though, Sam? Because you go on air at 4.
I do. Sometimes we record the first hour. So I'm on from 5. But I'm used to that now. I've done it I've got kids. They're not babies anymore, but I've had kids, so
Yep.
I go to bed early. I go to bed at 8, and or 7:30. I wake up at 3:30, so I get 8 hours sleep every night. I've just changed my body clock to be used to going to bed early.
Yeah,
and then so I don't mind the mornings at all. And Virgin send you a driver to pick you up from your house, which is nice. Wonderful. Yeah, so I have a coffee with him. His name's Marius every morning, and then And then I worked with Chris Evans.
Yes.
And exactly as you think he would be, he is. He is the most delightful, loving, he cuddles a lot, and generous person you've ever met. He is. I want to tell you otherwise because it's more interesting, but he is. So yeah, it's brilliant. I love it.
Well, Chris must be incredible to work with. I mean, in the earlier days, I remember I used to have a very good friend who worked with Chris way back on TFI Friday. He was a kind of slightly different person then. He was scary.
Yeah. I mean, look, he can still be scary because he doesn't mean to be scary, but he's incredibly demanding of his gang, and his gang look after me as well. So I'm really tight with them. But what he will say is he'll say, right, I want the music to Titanic for the next link, and the next link's in 37 seconds. Please make that happen. And obviously then it's all systems go outside. Everybody's panicking. And if he doesn't, he just goes, oh, that was a shame, guys. That's all he says. Yeah. But when Chris Evans says that was a shame, you die.
Yeah, so inside.
That's why he's scary. He's not actually a scary person at all. When I first got the job with him, they said you're going to be... Well, I used to do the breakfast show on Virgin. And then he came back, and so he took it off me, and he moved me. Well, they moved me onto early breakfast. But I remember thinking at the time, his agent came to me and said, you know, is there any hard feelings between you and Chris? Because, and I went, he's Chris Evans. I am very excited to be working with him, and I don't care at all that I've moved, because I really didn't. And we became pals, and he's genuinely a very loving and generous person, and good fun to work with. But yes, he's terrifying because he is who he is.
Yeah. And he wouldn't be who he is unless he is what he is. So there you go. It's full circle, really, isn't it?
He's incredibly driven and ambitious, and he wants the best of everything. And he has got the best team in the world, but even they get put under massive pressure. There's definitely pressure on them.
Of course.
But if you want to get to the top of what you do, in any industry, there's going to be pressure, isn't there?
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, I was listening to the show this morning, Chris Evans' show, and he's interviewing James Dyson, and the link dropped out 3 times, and I could just hear the disappointment in Chris's voice. Just, I knew that would happen, he said. We're talking about technology as well.
I know, the irony. I heard it too. He was great, wasn't he? James Dyson was great.
Really good.
I love that he said that all his successes have come from failure, and he embraces failure wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And now he's got more money than the Queen, so it clearly pays off.
Yeah, good for him.
True. Yes, very true. The sad comment was when I was finishing the interview, we were talking about marathon running. He goes, no, that knackers your knees. And I thought, no, don't say that about marathon running. The whole show is about marathon running.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah. I'm going to the London Marathon on Sunday. I won't be running. I will be stood next to Tash, Chris's wife, to watch it. Mm-hmm. But I'm not. Yeah, I can't. I have done it once.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Whether you're a runner, obviously not anymore.
No, I do I've dabbled with all sorts of sports. I do a thing called CrossFit now, which is like a mixture of gymnastics, weightlifting, and you compete and you go against each other, all against the clock. It's really high energy and good fun. And I love it. But no, I'm just not. I'm very heavy, so I'm not very good for running. I'm 95 kilos, and I'm not very fat, but I'm just heavy, and that's not very good for a long distance runner.
Right.
I'm good at sprinting, but Vassos is tiny. He skips along like a gazelle, and that's because he weighs 12.5 kilos.
Right. Yes, of course. And that's with his shoes on. So what about the... You stand in for Chris on numerous occasions, i.e. when he's not there. So that must be incredibly strenuous on you, assuming that you do the morning show too, the early show too.
So I don't do the early breakfast show when I cover for Christoph. Right. So I covered for him last Monday, and they bring a guy called James in who does my show, and then I do Chris's show. And I mean, I've probably done it 60 times now. I've done it loads of times. So with the first time I did it was terrifying, because what happens in your head is you think the listeners' expectations for a start are really high because Chris is the best. I mean, I truly believe the best in the world at what he does. So that their expectations are really high. And then you don't want to be a disappointment to either the bosses or the listeners. But also, he has loads of celebrities and other presenters and actors listening to his show. And you know that they're going to, who's this idiot? You know, and so, the pressure's on. But I do normally get Vass, or I get to work with Gabby Roslin, who is the dream. Yeah. And when you work with people like this, they rarely mess up, you know, and so it's much easier to do that show than it is to do a show on your own with no producers. Because Chris has a massive team.
Yeah.
And so they hand everything on a plate, and his job is just to make it sound unprepared. But everything is so prepared. And he is so prepared. When he had David Cameron in live, I don't know, a year or so ago, maybe more. And you've never seen so many pieces of paper with squiggles from a Sharpie on that he had spent 5 or 6 hours in bed at night prepping.
Yeah.
If you think he does his show unplanned because he's just good, you're so far from the truth. He is the most prepared presenter I've ever met. Yeah. And so because of that, when you walk in, when I fill his shoes, his team treat me the same way, and they feed you. They feed you loads. So it is easier in some ways, but yes, it is terrifying.
Yeah.
Now,
well, it was. I love it now.
Well, you're brilliant. You are brilliant. And sometimes actually I can turn it on, and I'm not sure whether I'm listening to Chris or to you on occasion.
When I cover for him, I try not to sound too much like him, because I don't want people to think, oh, you're just trying to be him. But also, I want it to be high energy. I want people to be, engaged. And his brain is absolutely phenomenal how quickly it works. And so they won't ever get from me what they get from him, which is instant reaction and knowledge of a lot of knowledge. But hopefully if they still get the energy and I can have a laugh with Vassos and Rach, then my job's done.
Fantastic. There was one of the shows I listened to and you covered for Chris, and you had Noel Gallagher booked for the show. Was that a surprise when you had to cover for Chris?
Well, yeah, I had actually interviewed Noel myself about a year before, and he was nowhere near as scary as I thought he was going to be. Okay. He was. He doesn't use words when they're not necessary. Noel doesn't. So don't expect him to feel dead air, because he just won't. But I was all right. What happened was Chris' son tested positive for COVID, but it was a negative positive. It was a negative positive or whatever. And so he rang me, and it was about 7 o'clock at night, and my phone rang, and he doesn't have a phone, but his wife, Tash. So it was Tash calling me, and I thought, what's this? So I picked it up, and he went, Sam, it's Chris. And I said, hi, mate. And he goes, can you do breakfast tomorrow? No, it's just tested positive for COVID. And I said, yeah. And he went, and then he went, by the way, you got Noel Gallagher in. And I went, why are you laughing? And he went, because I know him really well. And I went, oh, good. But actually what happened was the next day, so then I sat down and read everything about that Noel had ever done. Obviously, I know Oasis, but I did prep heavily that night.
Yeah.
And I walked in with pages and pages of prep, and then didn't look at them once.
That's just music and football would cover the subject, wouldn't they?
Yeah, and you see, I know nothing about football, so Vass did the football, I did the music. When I walked in, he was getting in at 8:30 live, and Aussie Nick is one of the exec producers of the show. He came in and he went, Sam, just so you know, our listeners want to hear a lot from Noel, so I would rather you didn't play any music between 8:30 and 9. Okay. So I went, right. So I've got nothing to fall back on. You just want me to talk for a half an hour with Noel? And he went, yeah. Then my heart starts to race.
Yeah.
But he came in and he'd had 3 hours sleep. He'd been out on the lash. And I thought, oh, no. But actually, Vassos started talking about football at the beginning of the chat. And then we started talking about Nebworth. And then we started talking about lyrics. Because lyrics, to me, are the most important part of a song.
That's right.
But they're not to a lot of people. And Noel said, they're not that important to me either. And I thought, well, you're one of the greatest lyricists of all time. And he said, no, I'm actually not. I'm very good at making music. And he said, I don't really care much about the lyrics. It's more about the music for me. So then we had a good 15 minutes on me telling him why he was wrong. That's not true. That's not true. But I did. But and then we got to 9 o'clock and we had to go to the news. And I was gutted because I just loved it. Yeah, it was.
Good.
It was an amazing experience. Yeah.
It was. Yeah. Sometimes things must go wrong. Can you think of something that's gone hideously wrong, but you had to cover it up so that none of us knew what was going on?
So technically wise, when things go wrong, as a broadcaster, well, you'll know this as broadcasters, when you're told you have to fill, it's the worst thing ever. Yeah. Because if you've not got any, sometimes if you go to an event and somebody goes, oh, do you mind just doing 10 minutes on stage? And I'm not a comedian. And then I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, you're a presenter. Can you just go and present? But you need something to present. You can't just talk about nothing. And obviously comedians can, because they have it all in their head. Presenters don't have it in their head. You just present whatever you're given. So when they tell you, so I was in once, and this was only about 6 months ago, I was in once, and all the lights on the desk just went off. Everything. It was literally like somebody pulled the plug downstairs. But the mics were still on. I was hoping the mics weren't on, because then a silence tape kicks in and it's fine. But the mics were on. And our producer just went, can you fill? Can you just fill? And I said, yeah. How long for? And they went, we don't know yet. Luckily, I had Gabby Roslin with me, and Gabby went, Sam, I love to talk. I went, okay, good. So between us, we just talked, and we had to film for, I think we had to film for 15, 20 minutes before they got it up and running again. And yeah, that was, my heart was racing. My heart was racing then. But no, usually speaking, there's such a big team. There's always somebody who can come and shove something under your nose to keep you going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about moving away from the technical? What about the unknown, the guest? The guest says something that they really shouldn't have, or swore, or whatever. Have you had to do covering up around that? Because it's live. You can't.
I think as a presenter, especially on a station like Virgin, which is a little bit more edgy than if you worked at Heart or Radio 2, swearing is still a no-no. But if a guest swears, there's a part of you that quite likes it, because you know that it'll get headlines. Yeah. And you and then you just have to apologise. And even if they say the worst of all words, if you go, look, you can't. Please don't use that language again. And I'm so sorry if you got your little people in the car with you and they heard that. I'm so sorry. I actually did it once. It wasn't a broadcast, but it was a stage thing. I was doing a Q&A with Graham Swan. I'll tell you it's Graham. It doesn't matter. It was Graham Swan, the cricketer, and I was interviewing him. And Graham and I grew up together, so we're pals. And he said something very, very strong on stage, and I apologised for him, and I shouldn't have done, because I said, look, Graham, please don't say that, and I apologised to him if anybody was offended by what he just said. And he said, Sam, don't patronise me by apologising for me. I can decide what I want to say, and I stand by what I just said. And I thought, yeah, he's right. You know, on a radio station it's different because it's our listeners, but I upset Michael Parkinson once. Obviously, when you interview Parky, that's his job. That's what he does very, very well. Yeah. And I asked him about somebody walked out of his TV show once. I can't remember who it was.
Yes,
Meg Ryan. I think it was Meg Ryan.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. It might not have been, but I think it was Meg Ryan. She walked out live on telly. And I wanted to ask him about that, and I didn't know that it was a no-no with Parky. And he said, right, this is what happened, blah, 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 blah. And he said, I don't want to talk about it, let's talk about something. Can we just talk about my book? Oh, do you know what? I'm annoyed with you now, Sam. I don't know if I want to talk to you about my book. Hang on a second. What? Do I still have to talk to this idiot? It's what he was saying. No. And I just went, oh my God, I've upset literally the god of broadcasting. And actually we carried on, and it was fine in the end. Yeah. But yeah, that was... You don't want to upset Parky. Parky's a ledge. But I did.
It's like having to start climbing that mountain right from the very beginning again, isn't it? It's awful. Feeling.
But I think you do just have to try and be confident with it and just keep going and just kill them with a bit of kindness, and then not try and be too cheesy. I don't know. Yeah, you just never know. I don't think I've had any others. Because I've been really lucky. I have interviewed lots of people now, especially doing Chris's show. Yeah. And I have been very lucky. I've interviewed some cool people. Most of the time it goes all right.
Let's just move away from radio for a second and talk about you and what you get up to when you're off air, which is quite a lot. I've been looking at your Instagram page. I haven't been stalking you, but I needed to know what else you do. And my goodness, you seem to spend a lot of time on boats and in cars and stuff.
I do. I love boats, cars, houses, and my children. Right. So I try and weave those things into my life as much as I can. So literally now I am on my way to, after we've had a chat, I'm on my way to look at a dilapidated cottage, which I've got my eye on, because I do in radio. It can be a volatile industry, as in people get hired and fired. I mean, touch wood, I've been okay, but you never know what's going to end. So I went into property development kind of backup plan, and I've done 16 houses now, and I do them with my own hands. I do them up, and I love it. And so I'm on the way to look at a cottage, and then I'm going to pick up my kids and from school, and we've got a VW camper, so I'll pick them up in that, and they love that. And then we're going to go to a bomb hole in Buckinghamshire, and we're going to rope up a tree, and we're going to swing across it because it's the kids' favourite thing. There are 122 bomb holes in Buckinghamshire where the Germans unloaded their bombs before they flew back, and we go and find them, the really big ones, and then we rope up a tree and we harness the kids up and they swing across them, and they go very high and they love it. Awesome. But I do sometimes think that's more for me than the kids. Yeah,
I was going to say, I quite like that.
And then boats. Yeah, so my plan when I leave radio. or when Virgin boots me out, is to go to a radio station on the south coast, and then I'm going to join the RNLI because my second favourite place on the planet is in water.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to join the RNLI and become a lifeboatsman. That's my plan, Stan.
That's
Oh,
fantastic.
nice planning. Now, you
Yeah.
mentioned a VW camper there, so I'm going back to the cars. You're a car person, obviously. What are you in at the moment?
I'm in a Mercedes. I'm in an X-Reg, so it's a 2000.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 21 years old. It's an SL500 Merc, which is a 2+2 sports car, cabriolet, soft top.
Very nice.
It's a 5-litre V8. Yeah, my dad bought it from new when he sold his business, which was an estate agent. And he's too old to drive it now. So the problem with my dad's a rascal, and he's a very naughty boy. So this car is covered in bumps and scratches. So I'm renovating it and driving it, and I love it. It's very thirsty, but I love it.
Mm.
I've got a really cool little business with a friend of mine called Dave, called the Car Crowd.
Right.
And the Car Crowd, we buy old classic cars, which we believe are appreciating in value, but we buy them with 1,000 people. So we all buy a share in it each. Dave and I manage Dave, to be fair, manages the business side of it. And we buy cars, and then what happens is you can buy into the car, so you can own, 1% of a Ferrari, which is locked away in a warehouse, appreciating in value, and then you can tell everybody that JK from Jamiroquai also owns a bit of that Ferrari, and it's just cool. It's just fun, and
What
you
a great idea.
make a few quid.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. And my sister works my sister's a Sky F1 presenter. She works for in Formula One.
Yeah.
And she owns a business with us. Between the three of us, we're in the business.
Okay.
So it's cool. Yeah, I don't
cool.
think we'll ever make millions of pounds out of it, but it's good fun. We enjoy doing it.
No, it sounds absolutely fascinating. So if you could own any car yourself and without the other 999, what would you have? What's the ultimate?
A gunmetal grey Aston Martin DBS.
Oh.
It's my dream. It's my dream car, and it always has been. And I just think the cool thing about Astons is that if you drive any other supercar or hypercar that they have now, then some people love you and some people just think you're you know what. If you drive an Aston Martin, I don't think anybody thinks that. They just think, Aston's it British, and they're cool, and they're cool. They're about 200 grand now, so I don't know if I'll ever be able to afford one. Chris Evans still has 18 cars, and he lends them out willy-nilly to his mates.
Right.
So because he wants them to be driven.
Yeah.
So I have great access to a collection of cars there as well, which is nice.
And boats. I mean, would you ever own a boat yourself? I mean, are you a sailor or do you like fast-moving machines?
Well, I grew up with my dad. My dad's a sailor, and I grew up going on sailing holidays with him. We never. My dad never owned a boat. We just used to rent them and go off around Greece and Turkey. And then every time we were out, there would always be a family on a rib that would come flying past us, get to the bar 3 hours before us, and have a lot more fun. So I said to my dad, when I'm growing up, I'm going to have one of them. Yeah. And so I have had a few boats. but they've all been speedboats. Yeah, I'm afraid. I used to do wakeboarding. I used to compete at wakeboarding, and so we had a wakeboard boat for a while. We've got a rib now. We have actually got a rib, but I've joined a club called Boat Club Trafalgar, which are down in the Solent, and you basically pay a monthly subscription, and then you get to use all their speedboats, and then they clean them, and then they put them away. There's no stress. I love it. So we go every weekend. We go down and play in the Solent or go to the Isle of Wight, and I do love boats, and the kids love them as well. Both my kids wakeboard now, and they love it.
That's awesome. And obviously we're very sort of Suffolk centric here. Have you been boating around the Suffolk coast?
Yes, we took a rib there this summer, and we kept it in the marina at Southwold. Yeah, and then we went out on the sea every day with a massive inflatable behind it. And the kids, we had 15 kids on this because it was a massive rib. It was a 9-meter rib with 300 horsepower in the back.
Oh, beautiful.
And it was cool. So we did that, and then we also went down to Orford and around and up the Spit, along the Spit, the river that runs onto the Spit. And we had picnics there, and then where else did we went to? Oh, forgive me. So further south of Southwold in Suffolk, there's a huge estuary that goes into which town?
Well, there are several.
Is it Woodbridge on the Deben?
Or was it Woodbridge?
Or there's Aldborough, or there's Thorpe Ness. or there's all around that Pin Mill area.
I think it could be
I can't
Woodbridge. The
remember.
River Devon goes into goes into Woodbridge.
Does it? Anyway, I remember being there with the kids. That was last year. We had a smaller boat, and it was just me, Catherine, and the kids, and we loved it. It's just stunning, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yes, big fan of boating in Suffolk. Yes.
Yeah. As from Suffolk, and obviously we work very closely with a lot of people who want to promote Suffolk, like Jimmy Doherty last week.
Yes, Jimmy's
He's
farm.
super keen on getting Suffolk more firmly on the tourist trail, because people seem to just skip our county and go up to Norfolk.
Yeah, so no, Suffolk, it doesn't get the love but actually, we actually transitioned, dare I say it, from Norfolk to Suffolk. We used to go to Wales is it Wales next to the sea?
Yes,
and we loved it. But we actually moved out. We secretly prefer Suffolk to Norfolk because, that's why we go back there every year. I mean, Latitude is great, isn't it? I presume you both been to Latitude.
Yes.
And my favourite moment ever of live music ever was at Latitude in Suffolk, and it was the Killers closing on Sunday night, and I was with my best mate Max right at the front watching the Killers close it at Latitude. Was very cool experience.
It is. It's wonderful. So next time you're up in Suffolk, you have to come and knock on our door, and we'll take you to some other parts that you've never been to before, and you'll just love it even more.
Amazing.
Yeah,
that would be great.
All right.
I'm in.
Okay,
next year.
This is good.
Definitely.
Now, you talked about Natalie there a minute ago, and so she works within the F1 world. Do you get to go along to the Grand Prix as well with her?
Yeah, I do. I haven't been for the last couple of years for obvious reasons, but I've been to lots of. Natalie's very generous, and she's a real family girl, and she takes my parents and me and my kids have never been to a Formula One. No, I've been to Monaco a few times because Monaco's the one, isn't it? You go and play, and Silverstone, and I've been to the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. But Natalie's very. Do you know what's amazing about Nats is because she has more confidence than anybody you've ever met. When I was in Monaco with her the first time, I said, wouldn't it be great if we were on one of those boats, these big yachts? And she said, which one do you want to go on? And I said, what? She went, which boat do you want to go on? I said, do you know all the owners of all these boats? And she said, Sam, which boat do you want to go on? I said, the massive blue one at the end. And there was this one that looked like a Daniel Craig yacht. And she went, and she said, come on then. So we walked down. And this was the Friday night of the Grand Prix. We walked down through the marina, and she just walked straight onto the boat. And there were a load of sort of 5 or 6 men on their own on the back of it. And she said, hello, everybody. My name's Natalie. This is my brother, Sam. And she said, are you guys up to party? Do you want to have a few drinkies and put some tunes on? Because you've not got any music on. And they went, yes! And that was it. And we spent the next 5 hours drinking all their beluga vodka. It was amazing. And sometimes with these situations, and as we walked off, I was smashed as we walked off. And I just said, Nats, what's that about? And she said, look, these people have got more money than sense, but they don't know how to party. So if you go over and have a bit of fun with them, they're always keen. So there's a good little tip. If you see a boat, just walk onto it, see what happens.
I'm doing that. Now, can you remember the name of that boat that you went on to?
No. I can't remember getting off the bloody thing, no. But it was, it was very big and very blue and very cool. And it had a helicopter on the roof of it. It was
great. It sounds very like Abramovich's boat. Because we used to see his boat all the time in Malta, and it is one of the biggest. There you are.
I don't know. I think we'd have known if it was here because the security would probably stop you, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
With that level of wealth. But it was. I know. I can picture his boat. Yeah, it was cool. I just think the thing is, if you just have the balls to go up to people and say, "Can we come and play with you?" Then often they go no, and often they'll go yes. And when they say yes, you're about to have the best night of your life.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. You don't get if you don't ask. This is it.
Exactly, friend.
And also, can I say, we like Natalie?
Yes.
Good.
All right.
Good. Well, that's nice. I like Natalie too. I mean, I didn't always like her. I used to rip her posters off her bedroom wall and punch her in the leg.
Yes.
But as we got older and I realised you can't do that when you're a grown up anymore, then I've literally just had a bagel with her. She did. Oh, we did have a row. That was good. We always do have a bit of a, because I talk to Natalie at least twice a day, sometimes all the time. We're super tight, and we just met at my parents'. She's cool. Natalie's great. She's a very, very genuine person. I love her a lot.
Now, you've already told us what your plans are for the future and what have you. More into the near future. Still not planning on moving away, we hope not, from Virgin Radio?
No, I mean, look, it's down to them as much as it's down to me. But I think the listener figures are good. They keep climbing, and Virgin's are really good, in a good place at the moment. It was, it deserved to be back on the map in a very big way. Graham Norton's just, joined us a few, probably a year ago now, and it continues to grow in success. And so it's a great place to be. I've got no interest in leaving to go anywhere else anytime soon, because they're just great. They let you get on with it. Some radio stations really rein you in and tell you what you can and can't say. Virgin just say get on with it. But if you lose listeners, you'll lose your job. So as long as you don't lose listeners, you keep them coming in, then you keep on going. So no, I don't have a plan. I would really like to do I'd really like to do a TV show. Chris and I actually submitted 2 TV series to channels last year, and they loved them both. Chris exec produces quite a lot of stuff, and he was the exec on these 2 things, and in fact he was the voiceover on the other one, and neither of them have been commissioned yet. But I've got a sneaky one of them is about beaches and boats, celebrating the UK, and we actually filmed the pilot in Suffolk.
No way.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we did, friends. We did. We filmed it. We filmed it in Orford. We did.
Right,
Yeah, we filmed it in Orford. So if that gets commissioned, then that is a big pat on the back for Suffolk, because of its beauty. But I think, my gut feeling is that might happen next year, which would be really cool. Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Listen, we're not going to keep you any longer. You're on your way to buy a dilapidated cottage. I hope it's the one you want.
Thank you. Well, thanks for having me on. It's been great fun.
Absolute
Lovely
pleasure.
chatting to you both. And I will definitely pop in and see you when I'm back in your beautiful county.
Yes, please do. And we will be listening tomorrow, 4 a.m. every weekday, Virgin Radio. There you go.
We will.
Beautiful. What a plan.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to The Suffolk Pod Show. Find us on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, or you can visit our website, podtalk.co.uk. And here's our disclaimer.
The Suffolk Pod Show will not be held responsible for any omissions or errors in its podcast.
The Suffolk Pod Show is produced purely for entertainment purposes. Views and opinions are that of our own or that of our guests.
Suffolk Pod Show. That sounds great. I like the sound of that.